Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back, everyone. First of all, congratulations on making it this far. We're now on section 8, which is the final section of our Arabic reading course. And as you know, up until now, we've covered all of the Arabic letters, how they look, how they sound, and how they appear when they are at the beginning, middle, and end of words. So now it's time to bring all of that knowledge together and practice reading some three-letter words. So on this whiteboard, as you can see here, I've prepared a set of 20 Arabic words with 3 letters, okay? So all of these letters are made of 3 letters. And we're going to go through each of these words carefully, focusing on how they connect and making sure that we read all of them correctly. And also, you can see that the first letter in each word is in black. And then the second letter in each word is red. And the third letter, the third and final letter in all of these 3-letter words is blue. Okay? So I've color-coded it like this just so that you can remember how each of the letters look depending on whether they're at the beginning, middle, and end of a word. Okay? So let's look at our first word. We have the letter fa. We have the letter fa, and it has the fatha above it. So we would pronounce this as fa. And then we have the ta in the middle with the fatha. So it would be pronounced ta. And the last letter in this 3-letter word is the ha with the fatha above it. So all together, we would pronounce this word as fataha. Fataha. Okay? Jameel. Let's move on to the next one. So I want you to try to guess before I read any of the letters, okay? I want you to try to beat me to it. So we have this second word here. And this letter is dal. And it has a fatha above it. So it would make the sound. And then this letter in the middle of the word is the ha. And it has a fatha above it. So it's pronounced ha. And the last letter is the ba. And it also has a fatha above it, so it's pronounced ba. So altogether, how are we pronouncing this word? We would say dhahaba. Dhahaba. Jameel. And just to quickly point out, the ha, it's at the middle of this word, okay? But the ha, its shape that it's taken on is when it's at the beginning of a word. So now I want you to think about this before I give you the answer. Why is it in this shape? Why is it in this shape and not the shape that it usually takes when it's in the middle of a word? The answer is because the dhal does not allow for the next letter to physically attach to it. Okay? It doesn't allow for the next letter in the word to physically attach to it. So therefore, the ha will be written as when it is at the start of a word. Okay? It will have the form of when it's at the start of a word. Why? Because if it was written as when it's in the middle of a word, then it must connect to the letter before it. But it is forbidden from connecting to the dhal. The dhal does not accept for that next letter to connect. Therefore, it would take the shape of the first letter in the beginning of a word. Jameel. So, dhahaba. All right, what about this word here? We've got the dad with a fatha, the ra with a fatha, and the ba with a fatha. Jameel. How do we pronounce this word? Daraba. Daraba. Okay? Daraba. Jameel. And then we have the kaf at the beginning of the word, the sin in the middle of the word, and the ra at the end of the word. And all three letters have a fatha above them, so we would pronounce this as kasara. Kasara. Okay? Kasara. Jamil. Alright, so that was the first 4 words. Let's look at word number 5. Okay, so remember this letter here. This letter here, when it comes at the start of a word, it comes like this. And it's part of a group of 3 letters. And this was the ha. This is the ha. So when a dot comes above this letter, it would be kha. But if the dot comes below this letter, then it would be jim. Okay? So this is the ha, the heavy H sound at the beginning of a word. And it has the fatha above it. So it would be pronounced ha. And then we have this letter in the middle, the fa, and it has a kasra below it. So we would pronounce this as fi. Fi. And the last letter in this word, yeah, can you see the little tail here? It's attaching to it like that. This is the va. Va. And it has a fatha above it. So the whole word is pronounced as hafiza. Hafiza. Okay? Hafiza. Jamil. And then the next letter, or rather the next word we have, starts with an ain. Okay? Starts with an ain. And then that second letter in the word is the ra. And lastly, we have the fa at the end. Okay? We have the fa at the end. And all of the letters have a fatha above them. So we would pronounce this word as arafa. Arafa. Jamil. So something also very important for us to mention. The fa here is taking the shape of when it is a solo letter, when it is by itself, not in a word, not connected to anything. So again, the question is, why is it taking this shape? So the answer is because the ra does not allow for the next letter to physically attach to it. That's the first part of the answer. The ra does not allow the next letter in the word to physically attach to it. So then the fa would take the form of when it's at the beginning of a word. But because there is no letter that comes after the fa, then it would take the shape of when it is a solo letter. Because if it was written as when it comes at the beginning of a word, for example, like this, then there would need to be another letter attached to it. Okay? For example, a bear. All right? It would need to be written in a way where the next letter can connect to it. But because it's at the end of the word and the letter before it does not allow for the letter that comes after it to be physically attached, then the fa will come in its solo letter form. All right? And this whole word together is arafa. Arafa. And then we have this word here. We've got the ba at the start, the ba with a fatha above it. So it would be ba. And then we have the letter dal, the letter dal with a fatha above it. And then lastly, we have the alif at the end with a fatha above it. And how would we pronounce this word? We would pronounce it as bada'a. Bada'a. Right. And important to note, again, this letter here, it's come in its original solo form. And why is that? It's because the dal does not allow for the letter that comes straight after it to physically attach, and there is no letter after the alif. So the alif would take the solo form. It cannot connect to the letter before it, and there is no letter that comes after it to connect to. Okay? So it won't connect before or after, so therefore it comes in its solo form. Jamil. And then we have this word here. So we've got the waw at the start of this word with a fatha, so wa, and then the qaf, okay, with a fatha above it, and lastly the fa with a fatha above it. And this word, how would we read it? It would be waqafa, waqafa, okay, waqafa. Jamil. So I pronounce the words slowly the first couple of times, and then we read it properly, okay? So reading it properly, it would be waqafa. Jamil. And then let's move to the next line of words. So here we've got the alif at the start of the word, okay, with a fatha above it. Then we've got the kaf in the middle, also with a fatha, and the lam attached at the end of this word, also with a fatha. So how would we pronounce this word? It would be akala, akala. Okay, so akala. Jamil. Right. We have the qaf at the beginning of this word with a fatha, the ra in the middle with a fatha as well, and the alif at the end with a fatha. How do we pronounce this word? It would be qara'a, qara'a. Jamil. So qara'a. All right. Here it's going to get a little bit more interesting. The first letter in this word is the kha. Remember, we spoke about this earlier in this class. We said that this shape with the dot above it is the kha. Without the dot, it would be ha. And if the dot was below the letter, it would be jim. But because the dot's above this shape, then we know that this is the kha. Kha. Right. So the kha has the fatha above it. Jamil. And then the next letter attached to it is the alif from the med letters. Remember, we said there are 3 letters that can be used to extend the sound of the letter before it. And we extend the fatha sound, meaning the a sound, by using an alif. Right. And it's also important that the alif, when it's from the letters of med, from the letters of lengthening or elongation, that it does not come with the little hamza sign at the top. Okay? It must not come with this sign at the top. All right? It must be without the hamza. So here we know that this alif is going to be extending the sound of the fatha. So this would become kha, kha, and then lastly the fa with a fatha. So khafa, khafa. You can hear the alif is extending the sound of this fatha. Naam. So this word is read as khafa. Jamil. And then the last word on this row starts with a qaf, and in the middle we have the ta. The ta, remember, if there's 2 dots above this shape, then it's the ta. And what about if there's 3 dots above the shape? If there are 3 dots above it, then it is the tha. And what about if one dot comes above this shape, then it is the noon. And what if two dots come under this shape? Then it is the ya. So this shape, it could be many different letters depending on how many dots and where those dots are in the word. Oh, and the last one as well is the ba. If a singular dot comes below this shape, then it is the ba. So many different letters just from this shape, just depending on how many dots and where those dots are positioned. So this is the ta. And lastly, we have the lam at the end of this word. So altogether, we would read this as qatala. Qatala. Jamil. All right. Let's go to the next row. And here we have the letter kha. Okay, we have the letter kha again, this shape with the dot above it. And it has a fatha, so it would make the kha sound. And then in the middle, joined to these two letters, is the lam. And it has the fatha above it, so it would make the la sound. And lastly, attached at the end of the word is the letter qaf. Qaf. And it has a fatha above it. So all together, how do we pronounce this word? It would be khalaqa. Khalaqa. Okay? Right. Another interesting word for us to look at here. This word, it starts with this shape, but this time the dot is below the letter. It's below the shape, meaning that it is the jim. It is the jim. And it has a fatha above it. Right, has a fatha above it. And then we have the ra with a fatha above it also. Okay, we have a ra with a fatha above it also. Now, this shape here at the end, you may be thinking that it's a ya. So if it had two dots below it, then I would say yes, it's a ya. But this is actually something else. This letter is actually an alif. It's an alif, okay? This is one of the ways that an alif can be written, all right? So just know, this is one of the ways that an alif can be written. If you see the ya shape without the two dots below it, then know that that letter is an alif. So if it's an alif, it's an alif of mad, okay? It's not just the normal alif that we looked at, it's an alif of mad. So when we see this shape of the ya letter without the dots, and it's come at the end of a word after a fatha, then know that this is an alif from the letters of mad, meaning it is going to elongate the fatha sound found in the letter ra. So how would we pronounce this word? It would be jara. Jara. Okay? So again, it functions just like the other alif of mad. Okay? It's just a different shape. Okay, what about this word? It starts with a ta. It starts with the letter ta, and it has a fatha above it. It has a fatha above it, and then attached to it is an alif from the letters of mad, meaning it will be used to lengthen the sound of the fatha. Will be used to lengthen the sound of the fatha on the letter ta. And then at the end we have the ra with a fatha. So how would this word be read? It will be read as tara. طار. Okay, not tara, not tara. It will be read as طار, طار. The alif is lengthening the fatha sound. Jameel. Okay, how about this word? It starts with a dal and it has a fatha above it. And then we have the kaf and it has a fatha above it. And at the end of the word is the ra with a fatha above it. So how are we going to pronounce this word? We pronounce it as ذكر. ذكر. Jameel. Straightforward, inshallah. All right, the last 4 letters for us to look at here. And the first one starts with a sin. And the sin has a fatha above it. And then the middle letter is the kaf. It also has a fatha. And the ra at the end also has a fatha. So how do we read this word? It would be sakara. Sakara. Okay? Sakara. Jameel. And this word, it starts with what letter is this? It is the sad. Sad. Remember the heavy S sound. Sad. And the sad here comes with the fatha. So we would pronounce this sad as a sa sound. And then you can see again the alif from the letters of med. Remember the alif is without the hamza sign, which means this alif is being used to lengthen the sound of the fatha in the letter before it. So this would be sa. And the last letter on this word is the mim. Okay, the mim with a fatha. And the mim, why is it coming in this form of when it's a solo letter? It's because the alif does not allow the next letter to physically attach to it, and there's no letter after the mim. So the mim is not attaching to the letter before it, and it's not attaching to anything after it because there is no letter after it. So therefore, it would be in its solo or standalone form. How do we read this word? It will be read as sama. Sama. Okay? Not sama. Not sama. It will be sama. Okay? And then we have this word here. It starts with the kaf, and the second letter is the dhal, and the last letter in this word is the ba. And all of the letters in this word have a fatha above it. So how would we pronounce this word? We would pronounce it as ka, dha, ba. Kadhaba. Okay? Kadhaba. Jameel? And then I believe this might be the last letter, the last word. Okay? This is the last word in this one. What letter does it start with? It starts with the sheen. It starts with the sheen. And it has a fatha above it. So what sound would this letter make? It would make the sha sound. And then we have the kaf in the middle attaching to the sheen. And then the kaf attaches to the ra. Okay? And all 3 letters have a fatha on them. So we would pronounce this word as shakara. Shakara. Jameel. All right. Alhamdulillah, we've looked at 20 words made up of 3 letters. And I know pretty much all of them had the fatha on them. That's just the case for these words. Okay? These are all real words in Arabic. And it just happened that most of them have fatha on every letter. I want you now to unsuspend the deck for the 3-letter words and just keep practicing reading those 3-letter words until you get really fluent with them, okay? Until it becomes like second nature reading these words. These 20 words that you can see here, they are actually also in that deck. And in that deck, there are 100 3-letter words, okay? So if you just keep practicing those 3-letter words, then you'll be ready to move on to the next video. And the next video is going to be dealing with 4-letter plus words, okay? So letters that are either 4 letters long or more. So I really want you to master reading the 3-letter words first before moving on to the next video. So, as always, I will see you in the next one.